It was supposed to be a quiet Sunday. The air smelled of barbecue smoke and fresh-cut grass. I was outside on our front lawn, laying out folding chairs for my son Caleb's 6th birthday party. Neighbors were arriving with smiles, paper plates, and wrapped gifts. That's when the police cruiser pulled up. I didn't panic. We had no reason to. I figured maybe it was for the noisy teens down the street or a wrong address. But then a white male officer in dark blue stepped out fast, too fast. He moved with purpose toward me, one hand already on his belt. "You live here?" he asked. His tone wasn't curious. It was accusatory. "Yes," I replied, blinking in confusion. "Is something wrong, officer?" He glanced past me toward the porch where Caleb and his cousins were bouncing balloons. "Step away from the house. Now." I looked around, half expecting a camera crew to jump out. "Excuse me." He stepped closer. I said, "Step away from the house. Put your hands where I can see them." Laughter from the backyard faded. Conversation stalled. I raised my hands slowly. "What's going on?" "My name is Dana. This is my home." But he wasn't listening. He already had his handcuffs out. I didn't resist. What would that even look like in front of my son? He spun me around, not roughly, but with enough force to make my shoulder ache. The cuffs clicked shut behind me. I heard Caleb scream. I turned my head and saw him pressed against the screen door, his little fists pounding against the glass. The other guests froze. No one moved. No one dared intervene. I took a breath and whispered, just loud enough, "Call Aaron." The officer paused. "Who?" "My husband," I said. "Captain Aaron Hughes." His grip loosened just slightly. His eyes flickered. But the cuffs stayed on. The officer's expression shifted like a storm cloud catching wind. For the first time, he really looked at me, not just as a woman standing on a lawn, but as someone he might have just made a mistake with. "Captain Hughes," he repeated, the name hanging heavy in the air. "Yes," I said, more firmly this time, despite the steel biting into my wrists. "My husband. Head of Central Division. You might have heard of him." He blinked. "That's not possible." "You sure about that?" I asked. "You sure you want to find out the hard way?" The party had come to a dead halt. Caleb was still screaming, and now his aunt had pulled him away from the door. I could see my sister-in-law dialing her phone with trembling fingers. I already knew who she was calling. The officer stepped back, but not far enough to undo what he'd already done. His eyes darted from my cuffs to the faces staring at him, from neighbors to friends to the kids watching with wide, silent eyes. "Why did you even stop here?" I asked, my voice low, biting. "What exactly made you come onto private property during a child's birthday party and slap cuffs on a mother in front of her kid?" He looked down, then at his radio. He didn't answer. My neighbor, Mr. Halston, a retired school principal, took a careful step forward from the porch. "Officer," he said, measured but pointed, "this woman lives here. I've known her family for years. You sure you've got probable cause for what you just did?" The officer's throat bobbed in a dry swallow. His hand hovered over his radio. There was a call. A report of suspicious activity at this address. "Suspicious?" I said, scoffing. "You mean balloons and folding chairs? You came in hot for streamers and hot dogs?" He looked rattled now. He turned slightly away and pressed the button on his radio mic. "Dispatch, can I get a 10 to 27 on a Hughes, Dana? Address 742 Timberview," but his call was cut off. Because that's when the black SUV pulled up, fast and clean, engine still rumbling as the door flung open. Captain Aaron Hughes stepped out, his uniform crisp, his badge gleaming, his face stone. Aaron didn't speak right away. He didn't have to. He just walked. Each step deliberate, his eyes locked on the officer like a rifle sight. He was in full uniform, dark navy pressed shirt, gold captain's bars on each shoulder, the department seal on his chest. His sidearm holstered, untouched. He didn't need it. The officer, still holding his radio, froze like a man caught between instinct and realization. Aaron stopped just inches from him. His voice was calm, but each word hit like a dropped gavel. You mind telling me why my wife is in handcuffs on our lawn? The officer's mouth opened, but nothing came out. Aaron didn't blink. Badge number. Now. Sir, I thought, no. You acted, Aaron cut in sharply. You acted without verifying. You acted without reason. And you put your hands on the mother of my son. The officer looked like he might melt into the grass. We got a call about, don't finish that sentence unless you're ready to repeat it in front of internal affairs, a lawyer, and every camera on this block, Aaron said, voice lower now. My heart was pounding, but I stood still. I hadn't moved since the cuffs were clamped on me. I locked eyes with Caleb through the screen door. He wasn't crying anymore. He was staring, silent and stunned. Aaron turned to me, gently stepping behind and unlocking the cuffs himself. His hands were steady. He didn't look at the officer as the metal clicked loose. He took my hands and looked me in the eyes. You okay? I nodded once. Ask me again later. He kissed my temple and turned back to the officer. You will remove yourself from this property. Right now. The officer hesitated. I said now, officer. Yes, sir. The man swallowed hard and backed away, eyes lowered, boots crunching over the lawn as he returned to his cruiser. The moment the door slammed, the engine started, and the car rolled away without a single siren. Aaron turned back toward the porch. He raised his voice just enough. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the interruption. But this party is back on. There were murmurs, applause from a few bold neighbors, and I finally heard Caleb's feet thunder across the floor as he ran out the front door toward me. I bent down, caught him in my arms, and just held him. The party resumed, but not like before. Laughter came slower. Conversations were hushed. Parents glanced over their shoulders while helping kids line up for cake. No one said it aloud, but everyone felt it, something sacred had been violated. Safety. Dignity. Trust. Aaron never left my side. He didn't hover, but he didn't retreat either. He was scanning, his eyes not frantic, just watchful, protective. The way only a man who's worn the badge long enough knows how to be when it really matters. Caleb wouldn't let go of me. His hands clutched my waist like I might disappear again. I kissed his cheek and smoothed his hair. It's okay, baby, I whispered, though it wasn't. Not yet. Aaron leaned toward me quietly. Internal Affairs is already notified. His body cam was on. And mine's going straight to the commissioner. Do you know him? I asked. His name's Officer Grant. Patrol Division. Probationary. I nodded, jaw tight. He didn't even check ID. Didn't ask a question. Just came at me like I was a threat. Aaron's hand clenched slightly around my shoulder. He's done. You have my word. A silence stretched between us. One filled with the kind of weight no family should carry at their child's birthday party. I glanced at the porch. Several neighbors were now talking among themselves, one of them holding up their phone, showing the others the video they'd just recorded. Good. Let the truth spread. Because I didn't need anyone to spin this. I didn't need anger. I didn't want revenge. I just wanted people to see. To understand how quickly perception can become punishment, and how one bad judgment call could have ended far worse. Caleb tugged my hand. Mama? Yes, sweetheart. Are the police bad people? I knelt down to his level. My throat tightened. No, baby. But some people forget to be careful with their power. That's why your daddy does what he does. Aaron stepped beside me, kneeling too. And that's why we teach people to be better. Caleb looked at us both, thinking hard, then nodded slowly. Can I still have cake now? We laughed. A real one this time. Yeah, I said, ruffling his curls. Let's get you the biggest slice. Later that evening, after the last balloon had drifted and the wrapping paper lay crumpled in a trash bag, the house was quiet again. Caleb was asleep, finally calm, curled in his bed with a new dinosaur plush under one arm. Aaron and I sat out back, side by side on the porch steps. The warm hum of summer insects buzzed in the distance. Neither of us spoke for a while. Then Aaron broke the silence. I've seen this happen to strangers, he said. Written the reports. Filed the complaints. But watching it happen to you, he stopped, jaw flexing. On our front lawn, with our son watching, he didn't need to finish the sentence. I knew something like this might happen one day, I said quietly. We've talked about it. But I didn't think it would happen in front of my neighbors. At a birthday party. Aaron stared ahead. Grant's already suspended pending investigation. IA called me an hour ago. They reviewed the footage. Let the footage speak, I said. Let people see what happens when assumptions walk faster than facts. He turned to me, his eyes softer now. You want to press charges? I paused. Thought it through. No, I said finally. But I want him off the street until he learns. And I want a public apology. Not for me. For my son. For every kid who watched that and wondered if their mother could be treated that way too. Aaron nodded. I'll make sure of it. The porch light flickered on as a breeze rolled past. Do you think Caleb will remember this? I asked, staring into the yard. Yes, Aaron said. But he'll remember what came after, too. He saw you stand tall. He saw that no uniform, no badge, no loud voice could define who you are. And he saw what it means to have someone speak up, not with rage, but with truth. I looked over at him. You mean you? He shook his head gently. I mean us. We sat there a bit longer, wrapped in quiet understanding. And in the morning, when the video would go viral and people would ask how something like that could happen, to a decorated officer's wife, in her own yard, in front of children, there would be no screaming, no riots, no anger in my voice. Just clarity. Because this wasn't about shame or revenge. It was about reminding the world what dignity looks like. Even when it's wearing handcuffs. By Monday morning, the video had already reached every corner of the department. I didn't post it. Neither did Aaron. But someone at the party, maybe one of the neighbors or one of the teens who'd recorded it, shared it. And it spread like wildfire. The footage was clear. Crisp audio, sharp visuals. It showed Officer Grant approaching me without question. It showed him cuffing me in front of my child. And it captured the exact moment when Aaron arrived, and everything shifted. The department issued a statement within 24 hours. They called it an incident under active internal review. They promised transparency, accountability, training audits, and public outreach. But most importantly, they suspended Grant pending further investigation, with strong indications that termination was on the table. Aaron received dozens of calls, from other officers, command staff, even city officials. Some were apologetic. Some angry. A few quietly thanked him for not escalating it further. I didn't need their thanks. Because something deeper had shifted. The video forced a conversation. Not just about mistaken identity or abuse of power, but about how quickly trust can be broken when people forget to pause. To ask. To see. 2 days later, the precinct's community division invited me to speak at a departmental roundtable on citizen engagement and family safety. I said yes. Because I wasn't just Aaron's wife anymore. I wasn't just the woman in the cuffs. I was a reminder that every uniformed officer's decision isn't just a policy, it's a legacy. It's a moment that leaves ripples in the lives of families, neighbors, and children. When I walked into that meeting, every eye in the room turned. And I didn't flinch. I stood tall. Spoke clearly. Told my story, not in anger, but with purpose. And when I finished, there was silence. The kind that follows truth. And then, they stood up. Every single one. A week after the incident, I received a letter in the mail. It wasn't official. No department letterhead. No legal language. Just a plain white envelope with my name handwritten on the front. Inside was a single sheet of lined paper. The handwriting was tight, precise. Almost nervous. Mrs. Hughes, I want to begin by saying I'm sorry. Not the kind of sorry people say because they have to, but the kind you carry with you after realizing you failed someone. I was the officer who handcuffed you last Sunday. I made assumptions. I let adrenaline and poor judgment replace what should have been basic procedure and human decency. There's no excuse for how I handled that situation. It was unprofessional and harmful, not just to you, but to your son, your neighbors, and everyone who witnessed it. I now understand the position you were put in. And the position I put myself in. Captain Hughes didn't yell at me. He didn't threaten me. He held me accountable. And that, more than anything, showed me the kind of leader I should have respected from the start. I'm undergoing retraining, and I don't know what comes next for my job. But I want you to know, no matter the outcome, I'll never forget that day. I'll never forget the image of your son screaming behind that door. I hope you'll believe that I'm not writing this for forgiveness. I'm writing it so you know I heard you. And I see you now. Sincerely, Officer Luke Grant. I stared at the paper for a long time. It didn't undo what happened. It didn't erase Caleb's fear or the hand-shaped bruises on my wrists. But it was something. Proof that sometimes, impact reaches further than intention. That even in the moments that break us open, there's still a chance for someone else to see the pieces, and learn how not to break others the same way. I folded the letter, slid it back into the envelope, and tucked it into the back of my journal. Not to forget. But to remember that dignity isn't just something you protect for yourself. It's something you teach others how to honor. That evening, after putting Caleb to bed, I found Aaron in his study, door cracked, light low, the familiar hum of the air purifier in the background. He was sitting at his desk, not working. Just holding the same letter I'd read earlier. Somehow, Officer Grant had sent a copy to him too. I stepped in slowly. You read it? He nodded once, his jaw clenched in that familiar way. Not out of anger, but out of restraint. Thought. Calculation. I did, he said. Twice. I sat across from him, watching him turn the envelope in his hands. He made a mistake, I said quietly. A bad one. But he admitted it. Aaron looked at me, eyes heavy. You think it's enough? I thought about that. Really thought. No, I answered honestly. But it's a start. And maybe the next woman won't be cuffed on her lawn in front of her son because of it. He exhaled slowly, then leaned back in his chair. He'll never work a solo patrol again. That much I've ensured. But I won't push for his firing. Because of the letter? No, Aaron said, shaking his head. Because of you. I blinked. Me? You kept your composure. You didn't scream. You didn't escalate. You made it impossible to justify what he did, and you gave him no excuse to twist it later. You showed grace under pressure most officers can't even manage in uniform. I was quiet. Aaron stood and walked around the desk, kneeling in front of me just like he had that day on the lawn. He'll remember that. Every stop. Every call. Every time he's got the cuffs in his hand. I looked into his eyes. So will Caleb. Aaron nodded solemnly. And one day, when he asks again why people like his mom get treated differently sometimes, we'll tell him the truth. But we'll also tell him what happened next. I smiled, tears pooling but refusing to fall. That the captain came home. He grinned faintly. No. That his mother never let anyone forget who she was. We embraced there in the quiet, beneath the weight of everything that had happened, and the message we knew would outlast it all.